everybody? We're all here. It's the Fantastic Four. I got Joe in the bottom. I got Abel at the top, and I got old man Cody just turned 40. So Joe's going to leave in a little bit, but so the Fantastic Four is going to get broken up shortly. But how's everybody doing tonight? Everybody out there in the chat world watching us here, and you three guys, man, how's everything going?
Joe, you want to go first? You haven't been on for a while.
You're the senior, Joe.
Everything's going good. Just looking out for the last half of the season to kick it up and make a change and see our offense really kick in and make a difference in a game. I want to see our offense win a game. That's what I want to see this week. I want to see us score points and have our offense win the game for us. Show us they can do it.
That's a key. I think that's the thing that, the last 2 weeks, it was time for the offense to take over and lead the way. And we got close, but no cigar. I think this is the week that we have to, though. And going forward, too, because this offense is got a lot more assets. But this time, we'll see. We're gaining strength, so we'll see. Big test this week. What about you, Abel? What's going on, man?
Hey, guys, everyone out there, just want to say thanks, Chris, for, always laying us on, as a kind of therapy week kind of thing. Happy late birthday to Cody, too. Late birthday. Happy birthday, man. And, here we go again. I was messaging you the other night that, it's a primetime game, Monday night, backs are against the wall, but, we'll be behind our guys till death do us part.
That's it. It's like marriage. It's permanent. Not like the modern day marriages, but the old ones. What about you, Cody, man? How was that birthday party?
Oh, it was great. It was a surprise party, too. My wife really got me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I got in my gut, I think we're going to win on Monday. I don't really know exactly why we're going to win. I just feel like we're so close. We just keep getting so close. This team has dealt with so much, and it's like it's right there. And if you guys can just put it together for one night, man, like we can really beat the Rams. But I'm worried about. I don't want to say it, but I'm worried about the offensive line and if we're going to be able to keep Tua upright. So I know you said they didn't blitz a lot, but they have a few big dogs up front. That Jared Verse is a monster.
Oh yeah, he's a power play. I was very, very, very impressed with him, and I thought he would be. It looks like what was it? Does anybody know the deal with Jackson with the knee? It just kind of popped up.
It happened at practice, so the reporters couldn't ask because Mike did his pre-practice media session, so they didn't get to talk to him after. So it's kind of nobody really knows a little bit.
So it was an injury at practice, or it was an aggravation of something previous?
I think I thought it was just at practice, but
yeah, it looked like it was at practice thing because something happened. He was grabbing us, going ow, and the trainers came out. You're talking about Cam?
No,
Smith?
Jackson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Austin.
Oh, freaking Cam Smith also went out in practice. Sorry, I thought that's who you were talking about.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Joe, man, thank you, man. Hot news. Joe's reporting live from the scene. I didn't know that, man. I didn't see any of that. I saw the Jackson
I'll have
thing.
to verify that. That's from memory there.
I read it too. All the reporters.
Come on, we got to admit, guys. We have to, I think, start admitting Cam Smith is no bueno, man. How do you get injured that much?
More. I still need to see a little more.
You can have no choice.
I was pretty high on him, but when you can't get out there, like I'm watching Easy E, you're like, that guy could probably do something, but you never make it out there. I just kind of give up on players a little bit. I feel bad, but you just go, what is Cam ever going to show up? But I think he can play. I think he can play.
I think he could play too. My biggest thing for him is his acceleration when coming out of breaks. I think he's a little too. He doesn't have enough pop in his step for a corner. He's a little too small for safety. But you can find places for hybrid guys, but they're not healthy. If they're not healthy, that's crazy. I didn't hear about that. I mean, I feel bad for the kid.
He's supposed to be okay. They said he was good, and he got up and They said overall they think he's fine. So,
but Jackson seems to be a bummer, man. It seems like it's going to miss.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And that's the thing too. It's like I'm not a big fan of Jackson, but Lamb I think is a good replacement for pass blocking. But he's old. He's not going to sell his body in the run game. Jackson's a little bit all over the place in the run game. But he's bigger and he's younger and he's going to give himself more. And then now you got really very little depth. I heard they called up what's his face, the kid we drafted in the 7th round,
Ryan Hayes.
And you don't want Paul coming in there. And Lamb, he does have a tendency to get a little dinged, and he's old as his last season. That's bad. I like Jackson a ton as a person. I just don't like him as a player. But that's a tough break for us. I think that Lamb's going to be able to handle it. I think there will be a little step down in the run game because Lamb's not really that good of a run blocker. But I think he's maybe even a little better in the pass game. But I think the pass game is where we can really hurt this team. So
so maybe that ends up being something we need.
it might. But Fisk, I was doing some stuff on Fisk. I watched him do a hump move, a club to Connor, and he threw Connor.
Reggie Whited him?
Yeah, he's a violent guy, man. And so, people are talking now, should we re-sign Eichenberg? And they're very high on Brewer. I like Brewer to an extent. I think he'd be better if he was covered by better guards. I am not high on Eichenberg, but Fisk is going to offer a real opportunity for us to see how they go against this guy. And for the people who really like those two guys and project them really well, it's going to be a great opportunity. Jared Verse, though, is a beast, man. I don't know. I don't really see a lot of moves from him besides speed and power, but he's got the two of them, man. And I don't know. Abel, what do you think there, man? You there, brother? I think he's not there.
He was driving earlier.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, don't crash. I got it for you. Don't crash. Don't crash. Yeah, but it's like Tua can get the ball.
I think he was coming on.
Oh, you ready there, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, Tua can get the ball out quick. They struggle. They don't have good cover linebackers. They really don't have a good cover secondary. I think John is a threat. Waddle and Hill. They got one guy, Williams. He's a good cover corner. I think the only thing that maybe could put it in their way is if they just rush that 4 and then getting good pressure and they just drop that 7 and keep everything in front, kind of like what we've been seeing. Yeah. But it's going to be a tough day for them. Their safeties, they have one safety they can bring up for the slot, and they got this guy Curl who's not really so good at safety. He's kind of dinged. So they got a lot of issues. I think this is, like you said, I think we were saying before, this is going to be a heavy scoring game. This is a game where they're going to put points on, and we got to put points on.
Against Buffalo, we ended up running more than we did passing. Even if you take Tua's 2 runs away, we had one more run play than we did passing plays, and that kind of kept them off the field. So do you think we're going to be able to use that strategy of running the ball against them? Do you think Austin Jackson is a big enough difference maker in the running game to cause us to not want to go with that ratio? Or do you think that if we get behind, we won't have any choice but to not go with that ratio?
Well, if I'm kind of like, I guess, the guy out of not in the lane of all the people. I look at how the defense is playing. I look at the talent that you're going against, and then it kind of determines because my man Scott, he says it's borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and I say it's kabuki theater. And the kabuki theater part is that it's a lie. You're lying and you're trying to trick and obfuscate. And then you're trying to pull something from one area and overload in the other area and trick the team. And then that's how you get your advantage. You don't just blow through guys, units or teams. You find those moments and you take advantage of a weakened area, And so if you look at the way the last 2 teams played us, Arizona played 3 high safeties. They don't have a good defensive line. Not bad linebackers, not bad corners, but they just they blitzed us more than usual, and they paid for it until the last drive. But everything they kept 3 high all day. And so it's very hard to break that. And so it opens a lot of space. It makes it a lot easier for the linemen to block because there is so much space. The linebackers are playing 5 yards off on leverage. And then you look at what they did last week. The Bills, you look at the defense, they're like 16th and 15th and not the defense that we kind of remember. They stripped a lot out. Vaughn played a little bit. Rousseau's excellent. Oliver's pretty good, but small. Daquan's not what he used to be. And the depth is in. And their linebackers are in. And their safeties are kind of in. They got some good corners, Dane Jackson and Rasul Douglas, but they were out Benford. So they played too high, blitzed us like twice all day, and just kept everything in front. And so it opens up space. And so, you could say, well, our run game is, and it's not to say it's not, but it's as a conducive environment. That's where I'm going to go into tomorrow's podcast and breaking down who we faced. And it's going to show you that teams understand and they're afraid of Tua. They're afraid of Hill. They're afraid of Waddle and now Jonnu. And what they're saying, from everything I see schematically, they're saying, don't let this team score quick. Let them march down the field. Let them get, 20, 21, 27, whatever. Just don't let them score quick. And make them earn it because they have a tendency to miss a couple, pick a field goal or two up, and it's going to be on us to kind of make something happen. And so I think it depends on how this team plays. The way they play us is going to dictate a lot, and I don't know. I really don't know. I know the linebackers aren't that good, but they managed to, slow down Seattle. But, that's a division opponent, so they kind of know that. They had slowed down Minnesota a little bit, and they've got some serious receivers. So it's hard to tell. They're like a Jekyll and Hyde. That first 4 weeks is one thing, as you were saying, but now you're seeing something else. They're going to have to pick their poison. And I think they're going to do the same thing that every other team's done. They're just going to play high and maybe blitz a couple times and maybe on critical downs. And it's going to be for us to be consistent. No penalties, no negative plays. So they get pressure. I think they're 13th in sacks. So they do get their pressure. And Jared Verse is a monster. Hey, Richard, what's going on, brother? Curtis, why is it the injuries are used to explain lack of production? McDaniel seems to be manipulating the roster to cover his lack of coaching ability. Tired of hustle, don't believe it. It's okay. So injuries always happen, but you're supposed to have the depth and the surrounding talent to compensate. Even like last year, you lost Connor Hunt. That's devastating. But you should have had better than Cotton, better than some of these other guys to uplift it. You got your defense, and it's the same thing. You lost Kohu, but you had a little bit of the talent with Fuller and Ramsey. So, I don't really put it as an excuse for an extended period of time, but it is got to be some excuse. But all teams are kind of injured. So I think it is a hustle. I think that the Dolphins have a very powerful media department. And I think that they understand that hope, just a little bit of hope, it goes a long way. And so I think that the lack of production is partly because the team wasn't built right. I think lack of production is partly because the depth isn't there. We've spent so many extra picks on guys. But you do have to say it matters. I mean, you can't have – last year was a gross amount of injuries on the defense. I mean, Chubb and Phillips, even Van Ginkel went down. I mean, that's brutal. Now, why do we always have that? I don't know. Is there something going on here? We got the wrong players? Is it we don't have the right trainers? Are we not coaching right? I don't know. I can't say that. I do know we have a consistent amount of injuries that seem to be slightly abnormal, but I think also we're not built right. So I hope that answers it. And you guys have anything to say on that?
On the injuries, I remember, I think it was when Bill Parcells first went to Dallas. I believe it was there, and he went into the training room, and it was just covered with guys getting worked on, getting tape. Everybody's got some kind of an injury. And then about 2 weeks later, it's empty. Nobody's in there. And it was just like Parcells is going to clean house. He's going to get rid of anybody who's not tough. And I don't want guys to play through injuries.
Yeah.
And we have serious ones too, but maybe it's a little bit of that.
Well, we're the oldest team in the league.
Say that again?
We're the oldest team in the league.
Yeah, we were the youngest in 2019. So these
Now,
guys.
now we're the oldest. That's
Yeah.
crazy with
Yeah,
all
because
those
we've been
picks.
acquiring. Part of our roster problems is you only have 53 players. So when you have players that are injury prone and you have to constantly rotate people in and out of IR because that's how your roster is set up, it just makes things that much more complicated.
Agreed.
Especially if that's happening on the O line, because you can't shuffle. I mean, we'd be kind of lucky this year, knock on wood, as compared to previous years where it's just
Don't
one
say
after
it,
another
Joe.
after another.
Oh,
But
I knocked on
grab
wood.
your wood. Okay, good.
Yeah. No, we were talking with the guy on Twitter about the O-line and re-signing Liam Eichenberg, and there was some opinions about the O-line like finally gelling, and that being a factor that's really hard to measure. And I remember saying at the beginning of the season that the offensive line the sum has to be greater than the parts if this offensive line is going to look serviceable.
Absolutely.
And against Buffalo, it did. To me, that was the best they've looked. And I know that Bills are missing Matt Milano. That would have been a little bit different with him out there. But I don't know. Maybe the Bills aren't who we thought they were. Who
They're
they
not.
used to be up front.
They're not. That defense is not. I mean, that defense is kind of like, as you would say, the sum of the parts and the coaching. And it's backed by an offense that can do what you've seen it can do. That's why I think they run the ball so much, to give them that space, that time on the bench, get them out of games quickly. But especially when you take Benford out there. I mean, I think they're 15th. I can go check it out. So let me check right here.
Yeah.
The Bills on their defense running attack is 15th. Their pass defense is 16th. So that is a average defense.
Yeah.
They're not what they used to be. And they got holes. And so, you look at, if you go back and just, you got some time, go look at who we actually played and what they were able to provide. We had struggles week one because they had a good front, but they had a lot of issues. I think they're ranked 31st in pass defense now, and they can't score. But we haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
We really haven't yet. So, but you play who you can play, and you do what you can do in that. This will be hey, there he is. This will be a chance for us to get to do our thing, because Rams are a pretty talented team. They got flaws on defense, they got flaws on offense, but they're a good, they're a good enough team to say, hey, that's a good win. I kind of agree with what I read today. Maybe the Dolphins. What did you read today, Brian? I didn't hear anything. What would you read? Sit Tua? If they sit Tua and they try to tank, to me, this team, look, Ross, for whatever you want to say, he wanted us to tank, but he does not understand the heart of football. Flores you might not like Flores. It's okay. I think he did some jerk stuff. I think some jerk stuff was done for him, but he provides a tough team. They were a resilient, tough team. But you got to have that spirit, the warrior spirit. And I think if we do this thing where, well, it's okay, let's tank, let's get the good pick, and McDaniel and Greer are going to be back, I think it's terrible. It's terrible for the spirit of this team. I hope that's not the case.
I don't see it.
I pray that. I don't see it. I think there's enough angry fan base that Ross is afraid of that. Because I think
they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that, because there's enough. A couple of weeks ago, their fan base was angry. Now they're kind of a little happy, and they're still seeing some positivity. But if you crap out on the season, I think it might be too much. Hey, Armando, what's going on, bro? This team is built outside in. Yeah, I mean that's why I just done. I just think if any team could just get guys together and build chemistry on the offensive line, everybody would be doing it. All the franchises are spending big picks and investing heavy on the offensive line. But Chris Greer and all that we've seen him do, and Mike McDaniel, they're just so smart that they figured out they cracked the code. It's almost ridiculous. I mean, some people, I respect them, but hey, you're throwing it, 2.0 seconds per pass. Does you think that matters? Do you think it matters you're bringing 50 to 55% pass rush mitigation? I mean, that's done for a reason. Now, if it keeps playing out this week they dropped it to about 40%. And in the time to throw went up a little bit. But remember, we weren't blitzed, and we'll see. We'll see. This will be a good week. But I agree. I believe it's got to be judicious. You grab the best players, outside or inside, but you can't forsake the inside. I just think that's what we kind of did. Hey, Joe, I'm just talking. I got to talk to you. Yeah, always key injuries on key players. But, again, remember, Greer doesn't mind injuries, and he gets players that have a tendency to injure, and sometimes big-time players and sometimes older players. And so, I don't know. So, Abel, what's going on there, brother? Tell us, what do you think what's going on? Oh, this is my man, John. Hey, John, what's going on? I'll get to you in a second. Abel, tell us what you think there, brother.
I mean, it's just, from when I had talked to you guys, like, face-to-face, it was right before the Titans game. And it was, hey, a lot of optimism going into that Monday game where it's, yeah, we have a backup quarterback going out there, but, we're still going to win. But even with that game and now with this one, like, and I was telling you before we got on, like, I mean, I'm the most optimistic, Dolphins fan that you'll find.
Good for you.
Every year I'm like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to win the Super Bowl this year. And even this year, I told my wife, I kind of scaled it back. I'm like, okay, 25 years, we're just going to win a playoff game this year. Like, that's all that I want. But, I mean, it's like now, like, again, like being in this state that we're in, it's very, it's like I said it earlier. I mean, we're going back across the West Coast Monday night, prime time. Mike McDaniel's like 1 and I think he's like 8 and 9 in primetime games. His only win is against the Steelers. So I mean, he's going up against
so you're saying we're 8 losses in prime time
with Mike McDaniel as head coach of either primetime games on Thursday.
I'm writing that down. That's a good stat. I did not know that.
Or playoffs. The only one that he's ever won was the Pittsburgh game. But
they're always on the road too. Like, look at how many of them are on the road.
Yeah, but I mean, even this year in week 2, and I mean, we had the Bills at home, and it was like, okay, this is the time if we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them right here, and it was. But I mean, it's gonna be the environment isn't hostile because, I mean, going into LA, it's pretty much like they don't have really a home crowd anyway.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, he's going up against a Shanahan tree disciple, or McVay already has a Super Bowl with Stafford. So I mean, it's gonna be fun as fans, as you were saying too on your video, where hey, we have this primetime game to try to show up again, but it's like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do it this time with their backs against the wall in the end? Well,
to your point though, look, we don't know. You don't have to be the crotchety old man like me. I'm not. I was super hopium guy. I was super hopium fan. But I kind of altered some of that as I started watching our build. I mean, up until when I first started doing this, I was super hyped and hopeful of 2021. Then as I watched our development in 21 and I saw the divide and all this stuff, I became very like, whoa. I've been doing this for this many years, and this is where we're at, because I was very high on Greer and Flores. But then when I saw us build this thing, I said, all right, it's a little weird, man, and then we kept leaning into it. So you got to be hopeful. I mean, if we can beat the Rams with an elite staff, if you watched them last week, they were getting their butts handed to them. And they made series of adjustments at halftime, and they came out like gangbusters against Seattle and really took it to them. So this is going to be, if we can beat this staff and this team, which is not they have some potential and they've got a great pedigree, and it's in their house, although it's, as you said fairly, it's not like their house sort of. It's an excellent win. And it will be like, bet middle of wind under our wings for the next 2 weeks. But that whole little vignette of 3 games is not what the vignette is going to be from Green Bay on. That's another level up. So if we get through this win, it's the first step on the yellow brick road, and there's potential. See what happens. But it is a big win. But I don't know if it's going to be easy. I don't think it is. Maybe we can get it. And if we do, I think you should be happy. I will be happy. I still won't be, I think the long-term prognosis. I know it's going to be like unbelievable. We're going to Super Bowl and a lot if we win. And I understand that. But, this is not an easy game. But it's just like a Cardinal game. If we can pull it through, it's a respectable win. And it's a must-win. You lose this, and that's it, man. You're done. Done. I don't want to hear any hopium and we ran the football and all this other stuff. And, it's kind of sad. And my Dolphin fans, I mean, we're 2-6. We lost the last two. Well, we've got the run game going. We're doing. You don't know what's going on. We finally figured. It's like, oh man, maybe it's like. John, availability as ability. That was the Parcells way. Yeah, I like waves of depth in the trenches. It's not rocket science. No, it's not. It's not. But Parcells, he came in and did some good things and bad things. He got that one guy from the Raiders, the center. He was really, really good, and then he got injured. He was never. So it's hard. Football's hard. But the way Greer kind of built it, I thought wasn't like a good one. Thank you, brother.
Did I ever tell you about when you brought up the Shanahan tree? It reminded me of Brett Coleman. I don't know if he interviewed Sean McVay or just wrote a little piece on him. I don't know where he got the information, but he was talking about he started when McVay took over. He had some lighter, more athletic guards, and that's how he wanted to run the Shanahan offense. He thought that was going to be his keys. And then the evolution of that is he ended up with 2 350-pounders at the guard position. And he said that's going to be Mike McDaniel's evolution, because that was the I guess the comp he was given. So I don't know. I hope so, but
you have to remember the Shanahan system. People talk about the Shanahan system. Talking about the dad. You're talking the 80s and the 90s. Guys were totally different then. You know how hard it is to find a guy that runs outside zone really well, but then has enough strength to hold up on the power and then drive inside when you're in the red zone. It is very, 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 very hard to find those guys. That's why outside zone is a predominant run game philosophy. It's very inconsistent. Not many teams do it. Atlanta, they ran it the most, but they had a really good offensive line that year. They went to the Super Bowl. And then 49ers ran, but they got Mack in there. And then now they're really balanced. It's inside and out. It's IZ and OZ. And so it's not just a physical prototype. It's the physical prototype that can do the agility stuff and the move stuff, but then still be stout enough not to get blown up. And I think that is – if the curse, if is the middle, yeah, if. But that's I was reading a comment, so I got my ADD.
Well, you get those guys in the first round. If you hit on some draft picks, we're not hitting on any.
Zach Tom was that guy. Zach Tom was that guy.
If you look back and go, okay, what young talent have we added to the team who's really contributing? You have Achane and you have Wright. Give me another guy. Who else is really showing up right now in the last few drafts? Really nobody. We're hoping Cam Smith, hoping Tyndall, hoping Eazy-E.
Forget about those guys.
Really, we have two running backs. Two running backs. Yeah, that's our fresh blood. We need some O-line.
And Chop. Chop is I like Chop.
Yeah, sure.
I don't love him, but I like him. I love Wright and I love Achane. But I like where Chop's heading.
Would you have taken him that high, and would you have passed on any of the offensive linemen that were available?
No, I would have traded. I told you I wanted. I said the two guys I wanted was Jackson Powers and Sweat. I'd have traded back, and I'd have taken Sweat, and I said I would, because I heard some stuff about Jackson Powers, and I would have tried to get that second round pick to get Jackson Powers or no offensive lineman.
Did you hear he was soft?
No, he was a bit of a. No, I didn't hear he was soft. I heard he was arrogant.
Okay.
And he would take a few plays off when it wasn't going, to his direction or something like that.
I got a
But to me, Sweat Sweat was the guy, though. Sweat was the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really good at this drafting, but I usually find like one guy in that first round, and I'm pretty good with my accuracy on that. Sweat was the guy, man. I don't know how we always do that. We passed on a Lawrence for Wilkins. We passed on Nagata. We passed on Wilfork. We passed on Vita Vea. And those are the guys that change things, man. I don't know why we pass on that. Yeah, great middle linebacker. It's hard to find great middle linebackers. My wife's Panamanian, and what's his face, the middle linebacker from San Fran. He's one of the best. He can cover and he can run stop. But there's so few of those guys. It's so hard to find. I think I think like an elite middle linebacker is the hardest position to find nowadays. It's so hard to find a big guy who can attack, stack, and shed, and then still drop into coverage.
Yeah, I was going to say they have to cover, and they have to cover a lot of areas.
Yeah. It's so hard to find them. Yeah, I would definitely, I would say that. I would say middle linebackers. The day of Shanahan, yeah, they had that. But also remember, in Shanahan's day, they were allowed, if you guys don't remember, every team in the league was afraid of them. They would hold guys up, and the other one would cut them while the other guy held them. There's so many ACLs blown out. They had the most dirty, nasty. Because what they do is they run it one way, and they would cut it back, and they would cut back, and the other guy would come and actually take you out the knee. So everybody was always watching their knees. That's why there was such space, and that's one of the reasons why they had the rules for the cuts and all that stuff.
Now we just hold them.
Yeah, they were brutal back then. I remember they were nasty. One guy would hold, the other guy would chop, and then you could see the guys' heads were always on a swivel, man. They couldn't. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. Players today had minor in acting, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. We passed. I loved Sweat. I thought that was my guy. I thought we really kind of messed up on that. So anyway, who'd you guys want to draft in this? Who do you think we missed?
I just wanted an offensive lineman. There was a lot. The Steelers poached us. I really thought that was going to work out.
I think.
Twice, yeah. I just thought there was a lot of guys, and there was a lot of different ways to get them, and in a lot of different rounds, at least all the way to the third round. So I like Paul. If he turns into be a really good player, cool. But why can't we ever draft anybody that can start? You know, we always have to draft somebody we hope turns into a good player. If you are player developing, you guys are so good at player development. Start with really good players. And then you're going to get really great results instead of starting with these like we think we have a project. It's a bar.
I'm so tired of the projects.
Yeah,
I just want a guy tired of the projects.
I want a guy that just shows up and is a dog. So
I don't know why. I thought this was a good opportunity. I understand. This is another knock I have on Greer, but I kind of understand it. I mean, you have Phillips. He's coming back off the injury. You got Chop. He's coming back off the injury. You had Van Ginkel, you let him go. So now you grab Chop, and then you grab Kamara, and maybe Kamara develops into something, but he hasn't done anything. So what are you going to do with Phillips? That was a first-round pick. Chop, you gave away a first-round pick, tons of money. Like, how much are you going to invest in edge players? You know, and none of them are super elite. I mean, maybe Chop because of his speed. You know, at the pass rush, but like edge players what are edge players are to get after the quarterback. But is that the main thing now? I mean, look at KC. They don't have any great edge guys. They have one interior D rusher, and then they bring it through blitzing and stuff. I mean, we overstack on receivers and edge players, and that tells you that Chris Greer and maybe Mike McDaniel by extension believe that the games are won through the pass. And then everybody's going to try to throw the pass, so you got to get after them with pass rush. But that's not how it's working. Look at the league. All the pass stats are down. It's about balance. And so to me, it's like, I don't know why, you know, all the people that are hot to trot on Greer don't ever mention that. Like, he does not see the NFL cycle. So you're going to move off Phillips. You're going to move off Chubb. How many picks was that? How much investment? You could use those to have guys that are on with you. How do we have like nobody that we drafted on this team practically? We're about on the verge to lose Holland, and we've had unprecedented draft capital, and we're the oldest team in the league. It just doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense, and just it doesn't seem to like have any traction. Like the only thing that has traction is just positivity. That's you want positivity. It's positive, but if it's not, well, like where is that balance? It's not there. I wanted, Brian Thomas Jr. I thought was a guy. You could have let Hill go. You could have traded Hill. You could have got him. That's the thing. Greer, I thought, did a really good job when he got in. Moving off Tunsil and getting all that draft capital was brilliant. I thought he should have just said to Fitzpatrick, dude, you're never playing again. Just sit. You do what we tell you. You're going to sit. And if you sit, you're going to have to accrue those seasons, so your career is over. But he traded him, which was not a good pick at all, less than what he paid for, which was stupid. But he did get rid of Tunsil, but then he just started spending like a drunken sailor. Rosen, who's in and out, that was a second-round pick. Look at McCoy. The Saints took McCoy with the pick we had, and he's like a top 10, 15, or 12 offensive lineman. I mean, it's time for Chris Greer to get some culpability. Everyone's celebrating that, Long is, but Long's had one bad season. What about Greer? Chop get pancake every time he doesn't get low. Yeah, but we knew he was raw. He didn't have lots of reps. I'm not saying he's going to be the guy or whatever, but I think you got to, even like Phillips, you go watch Phillips, he was ugly year one. And then halfway through year two, man, he started doing he looked really good. I wouldn't have gone with the Chop. Maybe he didn't have a trade back partner. I guess maybe Sweat with the DWIs. I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know. I could have paid Gink. Yeah, I don't know how does Greer not like Van Ginkel? You play him as your heavy on your Sam side, and then you play Phillips on your pass rush side, and you got like I don't get the guy. I don't get him. I don't think I'm ever gonna get him. Hill's already aging. He's 5'8". Yeah. I mean, we're not probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. We're going to be ready next year. So when is he going to be 34 years old and he's going to win the Super Bowl? He should have moved off him. We love to stay on guys forever. Chop is quality. What quality is that, though? I don't know. His first step is unbelievable. His physicality is unbelievable as far as his desire, but he's sloppy. And, I'd rather have Sweat, though. I would much rather have had Sweat. But, I guess if you weren't trading back, that was the right pick. So I don't know.
Yeah, Curtis,
You have to.
Oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I think you guys were talking about it last week, and I think it's really easy. Well, nobody knows how draft picks are going to pan out, so it's easy afterwards. Like when we all kind of sit back and say, okay, we should have taken Penel over maybe Waddle, because Waddle's kind of always hurt now, and we've just signed him, or somebody we all I wanted JPJ2 in this draft, or it's kind of easy to do that, but how you're saying, Curtis, there's been so much capital that Greer's had that it's like, okay, man, how can you mess up so bad in so many areas and have so many guys that you have signed that are injured, where it's there's so many holes now to fill everywhere, going forward, where even how you were saying, it was about 3 weeks ago in a video, how you were right before the trade line ended. And I know that a lot of people, even Jose said it in the comments, oh, well, move off Tyreek. You had today, about 3 weeks ago, well, let's trade Tyreek to get a first-round pick. Which, if you kind of think about it, last year, it's dude, are you crazy? The dude's the number one player in the NFL that got, ranked. But it's the league has caught up to our scheme, and they're boxing him and Waddle out now. But it's how you go back to saying, we build from the outside, not the inside, and
you can always find receivers, man. You can find receivers.
Right before the trade deadline happened, it's you know what, if we already have signed Waddle, somebody's gonna give us a first round pick for Hill, and I know it sounds crazy,
Oh, what happened? Where do you
go? That's the only guy that we.
I thought I kicked him out. Oh, sorry.
That's the only guy that we have that is
he's the only asset.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing.
Isn't the return lower? The return's lower right now, it seems like, though. I mean, when you can go out and get Hopkins and you can go get Cooper, the return, would they have to give up for those players? I know they're old. One of them's older, and I don't know what Cooper's deal is. I think he's an effort guy. I think there's some issues there.
It was
And I heard
very
he
low
doesn't
for
practice.
Cooper.
Amari, I heard he doesn't practice hard, and there's issues. But I don't know if we would have really been able to get anything right now for Hill. I think maybe the offseason would be the best time to do if you're trying to move Hill.
You can't. The money doesn't work. You had to trade. When you go to like over the cap, it tells you like, you know, if you trade him now and you move him, you can possibly trade him. I think post June. But
That's just kicking more stuff down the road anyway.
yeah, it's going to be, and you also remember that teams. That means you're not going to get draft capital for next year. It's going to be the year after that. And so, yeah, but if you traded him before the next draft coming up, then you could have had that asset for that season. You know, but you can't do that because you extended him. Like by extending him, he locked Hill in. But you could have moved off him this season and got something. But again, I don't understand Greer, you know, like he understood value at Tunsil. Like, why did we always have to, like, okay, Jackson's there at 19. Why did you have to take Jackson? Why couldn't you trade back and get extra ammo? Like, why do you got to spend 2 and 3 picks on one guy and dropping, you know, I mean, just think about it. You spent 2 on Waddle, how many on Hill, how many on Chubb? You know, you spent a second on 2 fourths on Kinley, second and third on Eichenberg, a second on Rosen, a third on Dieter. I mean, you go through the list, and it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of capital that we like just, and there's a bunch of guys too we drafted, like we cut right away, or we would and like guys would just disappear. But why couldn't we just kept storing that capital? We had such a great kid to start over, and I think it just goes back to that. He's just not competent. And you know, just like what Abel was saying. I mean, I don't think I could draft better than him, but I know first round I can because every year I pick some guy that's like really awesome. Like, you know, it's pretty easy, but he makes it very hard. I don't know. I just don't think he's a good GM. I think there's something wrong there. The way he just doesn't see things. He doesn't, and the way he spends is crazy. We shouldn't be the oldest team in the league 5 years after having 3 first-round picks in like 2 seconds. And look at that. All those guys, you know, like Phillips is injured. He got the next year. Well, we got him that year. Jackson, he's like, Hunt's gone. Raekwon Davis is gone. Jones is gone. I mean, like, all they're gone. Like, what do you draft guys for if you don't plan, if they're not good enough? Like, who do we keep? Tua, Waddle, who?
Yeah.
Who else?
Curtis, do you see any path for some kind of redemption for Greer? Some kind of, you know, Steven gives them that one sit down and says, hey, man, it's not going well. You better get your shit figured out. This is about it. And he maybe can make some changes. Maybe, I mean, he's a human. We all can learn from shitty situations and whatever you go through. You don't want to make the same mistake again. And I know he's made a lot of the same mistakes, but is there a path that you think that Greer can right the ship and can go away from a lot of his tendencies, you know, due to like having that rude awakening of I'm about to lose my job?
I mean, there's always, but like, how much more time would you give him? You know what I mean? So he's been here, if you want to say 2019, that's going to be 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. But he was really here in 2016 because, you know, he'll tell you, yeah, I remember I drafted Xavier Howard. Okay, you drafted Xavier Howard. Then you also drafted Charles over Watt. So then you did have authority. You did have power. And he even said when he took over in 2019, yeah, I had the final say. And so it's like if you look at it, he's either been here 9 years or 6 years. I mean, how much time do you need to give this guy? And then, so in order to restore this thing, he's going to have to rebuild it. You got, I think, $4 million next year. And you can't get rid of Toronto after post-June. Like, we're gonna get your picks, and then you're gonna build that, and you're still not gonna have enough, and you're gonna have to how many more years does this guy get? I mean, is he literally Teflon? I mean, I'm sure there's a way. Yeah, there's a way, but who the heck would give him that? I mean, maybe Ross has to, because who's going to come here? How much money's invested? Wasn't it odd that like all of a sudden out of the blue, Greer just re-signs all these people? He signs Hill and he extends McDaniel. It's like he almost like said, "Hey, I'm not sure if we're going to make it this year. Let's lock in all this money, so I got to come back."
I really heard that Greer. I heard it from Alf, and I was mowing my yard, listening to one of his podcasts on some headphones, and I didn't go back and listen to it, but I really heard it that Greer got an extension when everybody was getting these extensions at a quiet under the table. Yeah, and I have researched. I've asked.
There you go, Jim.
Tagged
Extended
all
Ramsey
too. Nobody knows. So I don't know where Alf heard it or if he's ever talking about it again. But
we're not. If we did that, we're not a serious franchise. I mean, I'm not saying this is true, but in my heart, I would say we're not a serious franchise. We'll never win anything if we did that. If Ross extended Greer, despite the flop of the season, and sticks with
before
him.
The season.
Yeah, but I'm saying but if that's what they did, all his extensions, it had to be to lock everything in. There was no need for it. And then if we flop this season and he's just riding with it, then I don't think he's serious about winning. I don't think we're going to win ever as long as he's here, because I don't think he's serious. I think in my heart, I hope I'm wrong, but Dolphin fans are such great fans. They've been through so much. I mean, it's terrible. And they're loyal. But you do is give like an inch of hope, and it will carry them to like the heights. And then even after they crash and burn, just a little bit of hope, and then back up again. And I really think that the media department, because like I said, I got issues. I like to study, but they use AI now, and they go through comments and information and responses, and they build a profile on groups of people. The military does it. It's called full spectrum dominance. And so they can find out where hotspots are, where rebellion and revolution was. Trump even did it in his first victory. And so they can use AI to skim and scan, and there's other people that do that for data collecting, for economics, all sorts of things. And they can glean stuff that nobody can really comprehend. Even some of the people at the top, it's unbelievable the stuff they can do. And so they certainly have to have tech guys that are able to find the mindset of the fan base by just using this AI to go through all these databases, all these comments, all these boards, and then compile what they need and to string fans along and to keep them going. Notice how we were building, remember, we were going to build the right way, and then all of a sudden we got rid of Flores, and then we went hot and heavy on Hill and started getting Chubb, and then next year they raised it 30% the tickets. Like, is that coincidental? Yeah. And so notice how like certain bullet points come out. Well, now we can run the football. Now we got the offense. And it's like always this thing, but it always leads to nothing. And so if we go into the season and we bomb and they bring these guys back, it's like they're not serious. And maybe it's because Ross knows nobody will come here. He's got nothing better. But that's even worse. That means you're a pariah. You're a wasteland in the eyes of true talent. I mean, you look at some of the best teams. Look who they got. I mean, we're going crazy. Mike McDaniel's a genius. He had a good scheme to start off with, unbelievable talent. It got figured out. And now we're like raving 3 years later. He finally figured to run. Like, is that,
Yeah.
Some of these elite, Andy Reid's and, the DC over Detroit. I mean, do we really have top?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll tell you that. Weaver, he's unbelievable. He's like, is he? I mean, are we getting that talent? Do we have that? I mean, I know we don't have that at GM. You don't have that talent base, all those picks, and then have the oldest team in the league and struggle on depth. You just don't 5 years later. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And they're gonna pump us up, man. I know how it's going to be, you know. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping there's like this thing that they're telling me, oh, offensive line's good and they're all good and now we're ready to go. And then, you know, and soon it's going to be, I'm telling you, soon, if we don't do it, it's going to be, don't worry, we got all these picks. We got the comp picks and then we're going to get the, we need it. And are we? Maybe, but what's the history say? You know, what's the history say? I mean, what other owner would accept this? Tua in Pittsburgh, and he wins a Super Bowl. Yeah, he would win on an old team. 100%. He would win way more.
Yeah, he's carrying in so many ways. People hate on him so much, but boy, he's our only hope right now.
Oh yeah, it's a shame. It's the injury thing. It's a real knock on him, the injury thing. But the rest of it isn't. Look around the league and see all the players and coaches that made a name that Greer passed on. Oh yeah.
Oh, he made so many plays against Buffalo, extending it, running around. That 4th and 3, Curtis, where he ran for that first down head first. Like, say what you want about the guy. That might have been the dumbest thing you would ever think somebody would do. But there's an aspect of it that guy will do anything to win, to get his team down the field. Like, it means a lot to Tua. Tua's not getting this paycheck turning into this, you know, cocky guy. Like, it means everything to that guy. And he's willing to risk his entire health and future to get a first down for the Miami Dolphins and keep him in a game. And the disrespect he gets, it hurts. It hurts me, man, because this guy he's a warrior. And I said he doesn't have the body to be a warrior, but the guy's a warrior. And plays like that, man, just make me go, all right, man. This isn't the problem with the Miami Dolphins. Tua is not the problem.
No, he's not perfect. He's got, you know, some, but I mean, look at Mayfield, Darnold, Goff. I mean, look how they've been built around.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was Tampa the first 2 years he was there, maybe. It was the first year. I can't remember, but not this year, but the prior 2 years, they were bottom of the league in running the football. This year, they're like top, I don't know, 12 or 13. And you can see the consistency. Look what they did in Detroit, how they built. And look how, you know, it's so funny. We never succeed, and everyone's going to tell you, oh, it's genius, it's 4D chess. And then you look around at the KCs and now the Detroits, and, you know, you look at the Steelers are always kind of consistent. You look at the Ravens, you know, you look at all these teams that are very consistent, and most of them, only a few outliers, they all build kind of the same way. But we never have success. I mean, we kind of build like a little bit like the Bengals, but Joe Burrow's an unbelievable quarterback. He's better at Tua. You know, he's a better quarterback. It's like, you know, that. I mean, he's a way better quarterback. But he's beat to hell. I mean, his career's been totally shortened. Yeah, Bradley Chubb was a totally irresponsible trade. But again, they were raising ticket prices next year. So, but you think about what Van Ginkel. How do you not? How you could have had him for $10 million? That would have saved you $14 million on what you're paying Chubb, and then you'd had all those picks. And like, really, is it that much different? Like, yeah, I know Chubb's a bigger physical specimen, but he's always injured. And is it really that big a difference? Would you rather have had Chubb, even if he's healthy, and all the less, $14 million less, and all the picks less? Or Van Ginkel and $14 million more, and what was it, a first and a third or whatever it was? It's crazy. Yeah. It's like moronic. But it's a hot sell, so the fans will be like, yeah. But now it's 2 or 3 years later. Now it's like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Like, they know. I'm telling you, man. Those AI, they got a media department that is skimming. They know. They know how to manipulate, man. I know it. Cam Smith was drafted. Yeah. Like Cam Smith, okay, he was supposed to be. We're already in his second season where he's going to be nothing. And remember how it was. Well, it was for Fangio. He sucks. Fangio's an old man stuck in his ways. He's sticking it to Cam. It's always the same thing. And now it's like nobody even mentions it. So is it Weaver sticking it to him? You know, I mean, like, It's all BS. It's so much BS. It's like so hard to be a Dolphins fan sometimes. It's like a joke. Like Fangio's 6-2 now over there with the Eagles, and his defense was better than our defense this year. And he played harder teams, and he went through the whole season. He lost just as much talent. It's okay. He didn't want to be here. Maybe we got to turn him into the villain, the bad guy. It's like I don't know. It's the same thing every year. Everything that leaves here is the worst thing in the world, and everybody else is an idiot, and we never win. I mean,
so what's going to happen, Curtis? What's going to happen, man? I know win or lose, definitely it's going to change what happens the rest of the season after Monday night. But what do you think is going to happen? What do you think the end of the season is? What do you really think is going to happen?
I don't think there's any way we can. I mean, it depends. Like, if you're telling me, are we going to playoffs? No, it's not.
I mean, like, what do you really like? What's your projection?
Oh, Ross is keeping everything together. It's already done. So it's already done. I think that if we get like 6 or 7 wins, that's not enough. They'll just keep everything together. I mean, I'm hoping that Ross is the guy we need, who's willing to just, hey, you know what? This is not working. I might not even live until this thing gets right, but I just want to set this thing right. My daughter's going to take over the team. Maybe in my lifetime, or maybe I'm not going to die, but maybe I'll like turn it over. I won't be appreciated, but at one point they will. They'll appreciate me. I did the right thing. I want to believe that, but this is the season. This is it. This is the final exam for me on everything. I mean, hey, you know what? Maybe the Dolphins win this week and they win the next week, and then they go to Green Bay and they win and they beat the Jets twice and they, whatever. It's like maybe that happens. But if not, it's like just a more string along job. It's gonna be another like super hype, hopium hype. Oh, we got 8 wins. Look, if we didn't lose Tua, just the next year we won't lose him, and then we'll get the picks, and it's going to be the same like used car salesman job because the same people have been putting it together. And I don't know about McDaniel. I don't know. Like maybe he's the right guy, but I know Greer isn't. I mean, like, how do you not know that this is not the right guy? He had you will never as a franchise have that much draft capital, that high of draft capital ever again. And it was squandered, totally squandered. So if he had all that draft capital and squandered it, would you think he's going to somehow like double his ability or triple his ability and nail the normal capital? And he's going to, come on, man. I mean, how much BS do you need? Like, how high could you have to raise your boots to believe that? So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that they shock me. The offensive line's awesome. We win and go to the playoffs. Even if we just got to the playoffs, I'd say keep Greer. I'm wrong. I hope that happens. I'm tired, man. I'm tired of covering the team. I'm tired of being the bad guy. I'm tired of being a fan, not seeing my team. It sucks, But the worst case scenario for me is like the 8 wins, and then we keep him anyway. And he doesn't really have great capital, and he comes back and it's going to be a hype. Well, Paul win not next year. Then we're going to keep Teron next year, and it'll be year 3. And Cam Smith year 4. Eichenberg, we're re-signing him. His multiplicity. He had a really cool off season. Like how much crap do you got to take? So I'm hoping that I'm wrong. And if I am, we should win this week, win the next couple of weeks, and we should win a bunch of games and either be on the verge of the playoffs or get in there. But how does the Jets not – if you're third in this division, the Jets get second in the division, that's a joke. We're built to this moment. Somebody screwed up big time. I mean, it's clear already. It's clear already that somebody screwed. But, I mean, the Jets – they do better than you in this division. Like, how do you sell that? And I just hope my Dolphin fans have more, resistance than that.
You know what scares me the most, though, is we realized that we needed a backup quarterback. We realized it the hard way. Who's our backup quarterback going into Monday night? It's Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
Like, it's Skylar Thompson.
Who doesn't fit our system.
We had CJ Beathard. He got poached, I guess. and we lost Tim Boyle, who actually, to me, looked like the most competent quarterback of that whole entire stretch. He had like 2 or 3 drives, and Tim Boyle looked like the best out of all of them. But
Yeah.
Huntley's on the D or the IR. We don't even have another quarterback. We know Skyler sucks. We know it. We know it.
It's not that he sucks. It's
I
that
think he does.
he's not designed for this. He does not have quick processing. He's a guy that you want better blocking. You want to set up like maybe half field reads, get him on the boots. But this offensive line can't protect. I mean, they can't. And they cannot protect for a decent. I mean, Tua had this was like a rare week for him. And I think his like overall throw time was 2.28.
Yeah.
That's still lightning fast. That's like really slow for this team.
Yeah, that's our best.
And we weren't blitzed. You know what I mean? Like, and this is not. I mean, could you imagine some of these other teams? So Skyler is just not this. But like, why didn't you get a guy who can do these kind of things? Why?
Bingo.
It's all back the same, but it all comes. Nobody cares, really. I don't think anybody cares. You know, I don't. You know, it's all just a sell job. You'll get more clicks and more hits just by saying it's 4D chess and we're going all the way. And, you know, maybe we do, but when we don't and it's over and over and over again, and it keeps saying it over and over again, like at one point people will say, hey, you know, didn't you say that like the last 7 years? You know?
Yeah.
Isn't
that what
like,
all of our friends tell us? All of our friends tell us,
oh, yeah.
Haven't you been saying they're going to win for years? But that Buffalo game, Curtis, was fun to watch. And for the first time in a long time, I saw safeties, linebackers creeping up, not knowing because they think they're going to get run on. We never do that. We never have safeties and linebackers second guessing like we did. It was really fun to watch. In my mind, I thought we're going to lose because we're the Dolphins and that's what we do. But the 61-yard field goal, that's a jerk move to a fan base that's already been just brutalized. But I just liked watching the safeties creep up. Like, to me, that was like, wow.
Yeah, they played cover 1 8 times. That's more than I've seen all season.
Yeah. Yep. It was awesome. It was a normal.
Hey, has anybody ever been saying that over like the last couple of years?
I think so.
You think somebody? So. I don't know who was saying something about getting those guys creeping up. I don't know.
And people don't want to hear about pass mitigation. They don't want to hear about that context. They just say, "Oh, that's a scheme," or they'll say, "Well, Tua is limited, so they have to do all that to protect Tua." And it's like that is the exact opposite, man. And that is the exact opposite of what's going on.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's what I try to do here. I'm not saying I don't pretend to be a guru, but I know it's way more complicated than a lot of people pretend it to be, and there's a lot of nuances. Things just don't happen, you know. It's not like random. Like, you know, these guys sitting there all week long trying to find things, and you got to watch it. It's just very, very nuanced. But, you know, you can't. Most people are not into that, and so it's just a lot easier to say we're going all the way. We're pulling it together. Look at the run game, and then we're going on a tear. It's a lot easier to digest that and sell that than say, hey, you know, last 2 weeks they've been playing high coverage and opening up under the middle, and like go through and you're talking for 5 minutes and people are like, what? Dude, what?
Yeah.
You know, and they know that. You know, they know that. But that's a sad part because, you know, I'm not saying it's the case. Look, we could win, do this whole thing, and maybe all these people are right. But if they're wrong. If they're wrong this time, all these like hopium people and all this stuff, you know, and you suck it up for next year. Like, we got the picks and we're gonna go all the way. It's a rewind. The Dolphin fans, they want to be abused. You know, you've got to be a smart consumer, even when it comes to football. You know, you've got to be like, or else they're just gonna sell you like garbage. You know, McDonald's when it first came out, it sold really top-end beef. But then over the years, they realized that they're going to eat it no matter what. So they throw this slop in there. I think there's like 100 different carcinogenics or something like that. Like in cigarettes, like in McDonald's fries. And so if you're not a smart consumer, they're going to feed you garbage. And that's what I feel like with these. I remember like just a few years ago, people were like, I'm done with Ross. this is BS. We need an offensive line. And then somehow, like the last 2 or 3 years, there's this like new technique or this new vibe. Like Ross is great. Yeah, all right. Well, then we like can't stand him for years. Like, Greer's great, but we couldn't stand him. And then also it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of sad. I feel like unless the fan base changes, the ownership won't change, and it's just the circumstances just keep repeating.
I think Tua brought a lot of hope for a lot of people, personally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's also used. I feel like they used him a little bit. When McDaniel came on the plane and he's like, "I'm going to save you," and like, I don't know. I just feel like they do a lot of stuff. Like, I feel like this kid's been used. I think he's been used by fan base, both sides, the people who love him, the people who hate him, been used by the media. I think he's been used by, like content providers. He's been used by the team itself because Tua helped them transition out of the ugly image of Flores. And they rode that thing hard for their image. And so, like, I feel bad for the kid. I think he's a good quarterback, but I definitely think he's been used. And I think he kind of, like, added to it a little bit, and I'm hoping that he gets wiser. It seemed like when he got off that concussion thing, he was angry at something, but it couldn't have been the fans. He doesn't pay attention to them. It seemed like something in the backdrop.
Well, didn't you hear he was thrown for 5 weeks? So what he was telling everybody was after that game, a few days later, I was fine, and I was passing concussion protocols. Like, he really was ready to play, but the NFL sat him. So he sat for 4 weeks just pissed off. And I think that's what it was. I think he was ready to play, and he knew if he was a different quarterback, a different person, he wouldn't have to sit out this long for his concussion. But, because of his history, that's what I think happened.
Do you think the NFL got involved?
I think so for sure. Yeah.
That's my thing too. I don't think the NFL likes him either. And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with his like faith. I think a lot of it has to do with his like simple nature, like nice nature. I just think that there's something deeper that they don't like him. There's something, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's really, really weird. Like, he's definitely got like the Tebow thing where he's got the built-in fan base and he's got the polarity. But I think there's a little bit something more that the NFL really doesn't like about him.
I could believe it. And he's still willing to dive head first for you guys. I don't want to hear anybody slandering Tua the rest of the year, guys. He's giving everything.
This one over here. Ross, no, he doesn't have I would disagree on that. He has the right intention. Like, he wants to win, but he has no clue. He's very deceitful. He's very big business-like. He works in the backdrop. He wanted to have a corporate media corporate structure with vying pieces to compete against each other. That's what they had back with what was her name? The girl was arguing with Ireland and Philbin. But he doesn't understand. Oh, yeah. He doesn't. I can't remember her name.
Grimes?
No, it was she was like ahead of the financial.
Oh, Donna Ponte?
Yeah. And he did that. And then he brought in Tannenbaum, and then he gave power to Gase, and then he gave power to Greer, and he brought him in 2016, and then he brought in Greer and made him totally in charge. So I'm backing out, but then he started coming in and telling Flores how to do this thing, and somebody came in and said put Tua in early, and then he was. Don't tell me that like his little protege. They're like trying to say that Ross wasn't involved trying to get Peyton and Brady. Come on, I mean, there's no way your protege is going to go behind your back. He has no authority. So what's he going to do? It's like ridiculous. He totally was using him as his go-between to do all this stuff. So he was doing all this stuff. And then he stood up at the podium like, we got to get rid of Flores because he's not working well. And Tua's our guy unless the other coach doesn't want him. And he was working Peyton and Brady. Like, he lies. But I think he wants to win. He wants to be seen as a savior. And he wants this team to do well. But that's not how you go about it. Coaches are like paranoid. There is a warrior mentality. even for GMs, the right GMs, it's like a code of honor until, like I've said, there's 3 stages. Everybody comes together. Everybody thinks they're the greatest thing is sliced bread. And then in the middle, you're battling it out, your brothers in arms. And then if it goes south, then everybody gets off like rats on a ship, but they all know that. But if you're being a rat in stage 1, stage 2, then like people don't trust you. And he's always been that way. You've got to have honor in stage 1 and stage 2. Everybody understands you got to save your tail at the 3rd stage when things crap out. That's like understood. But stage 1 and stage 2, you can't be doing this kind of stuff. And nobody with any soul and any honor is going to come to this place. And it's very difficult for Ross. He's kind of made a trap for himself. I think he could get out if he puts in like a contract. I'm going to stay out or whatever. But it's very, very difficult. So I think he wants to win. The guy who wants to spend money, but he's just you can't. It's like trying to take a guy that pushes pencils and putting him on a Delta Force squad. He's like they don't mix. He could be Mr. Master financier, but a financier does not work on the battlefield, and he's not crossed that track. And he gets guys like Tannenbaum. He gets guys like Greer, and they're pencil pushers. And he gets a guy like, McDaniel, you like him or not. But notice he's had problems with Sperano. He's had problems with Flores. He had problems with Parcells. He does not get along with the warrior persona. But that's the business he's in.
Yeah.
Cameron,
Philbin, bunch of
all a bunch of pencil pushing geeks. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you got to have a warrior as your GM or pseudo. What you want is a GM that's half warrior, half businessman. And then you want your coach to be like 3/4 warrior and 1/4 politician. And then your coordinators, they can kind of be a little bit different. You can have your happy-go-lucky flavor guy and your hard-ass guy. That you could do that, but you got to have a head coach who's the warrior that people will rally around and look at as the alpha. But then he's got a little politician, which Flores lacked, to know how to work the system and then work with the GM. And the GM's got to be half warrior because he can't screw over everybody. He's got to have some level of honor. He's got to be tough to tell the owner, shut up, step away in a nice way. And then he's got to be a little bit of pencil pusher and maybe a little politician too, but more pencil pusher because he's got to work, all the numbers and the system and everything else. But we don't got that. We got a pencil pusher, a wet towel, pencil pushing geek for a GM. And McDaniel played football, but he wants to be everybody's friend, and he's smart. I mean, Weaver, I think, is a nice piece to add in there, but he's your DC. McDaniel, because of his persona, and he's occupying OC and HC, and then he's in combination with the GM, it's just not a really good in my opinion, psychological pool to create a football squad, to lead a football team. And you could see there's like injuries and we're soft, and I don't know. I'm even overthinking it, but it's not good. I don't see this working out. I mean, you had the right GM, like maybe like people don't like the Bills, but I think Bean is that like hard-nosed guy and businessman / politician. He's a really good GM. There's a lot of them around, and maybe that would help with McDaniel, but I don't know. Ross needs to be the alpha. Yeah, he always needs to be in control. He always needs, and that's the thing. He said. It's a definition, repeating the same thing over and over in 2019 is a definition of insanity because you're expecting different results. Then what does he do? He gets right involved. Come on the boat with Brady, Flores. Tank for. So who's coming here? Look at the head coach. I always forget his name. He was with us. He was like the architect in 2019. He was the head coach for Colts and then Detroit. And then he left mysteriously. And then when we got rid of Flores, he didn't even interview here. He interviewed all places. Like what big time coach interviewed here? Nobody really. I think there was one interview by one, but no one was like, I'm not coming here. And then look what they did to Fangio. You don't think that any other head coach is like, if I go here and it doesn't work out, I'm just going to get trolled in the media and called a piece of garbage, and then I'm going to have this little like rat, pencil pushing GM going to come in and just, dude, how do you take Fangio and he's sitting on the practice field and you just bring players and they show up on his practice field, doesn't even know they're coming? That's like the ultimate sign of disrespect. You don't think the other coaches are like, whoa, this is like a Warriors thing. These paranoid Warriors. So I don't know.
These are painful truths, but we got to face them.
Yeah. I mean, let's hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Let's hope this goes the right direction.
Let's beat the Rams. Let's put up 30 on the Rams. Let's run the ball.
Yeah.
Let's run the ball.
And to me, honestly, I don't think this season is going to go anywhere, but I'm praying, and I want Greer fired, but I'm praying that we beat the Rams and we win these next 2 games. Because guys like you, Cody, and other people I see, I want to see you guys happy. And my evaluations are hard-coded into me now, and I can change them, but I want to see my team play meaningful games. I want to see you guys feel good. And I want to see this team be 5-6 to go to Green Bay so people can see what this team's about. It's a huge game for us, the Rams. Let's hope we do it. One day at a time, like an alcoholic. All right, guys, I appreciate everything. Anyone else want to say anything? Anybody got anything to say before we get out of here? Or did I suck up all the oxygen? Got a big mouth, guys.
No.
All right. Yeah, big mouth. All right, guys, I appreciate everything. Thank you for stopping by in the comments. Abel, Joe, and Mr. Success with that awesome backyard. Happy birthday, everybody. Guys, I thank you for everything. You're the best, and I will catch up with you soon. Monday night, go Phins.
Go Phins.
All right, guys. Thank you for everything.